Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Nather, and I am on a mission to understand how young people see the world. You are about to watch an interview between myself and someone else who is under 25 years old about their worldview. That is their identity, religion, and politics. As you watch this interview, please keep in mind that in 5, 10, 40 years from now, we are not going to be the same people as we are today. And if we are the same people as we are today, then we have done a bad job of listening and learning to the people around us. So without further ado, enjoy. Hello, everyone. This is Elliott. He's actually the person I tested the sound equipment with whenever I first bought all this stuff. So he's a pretty good friend of mine. I really enjoy spending time with him. We can spend hours talking, but I'm going to try and have a really intentional conversation with him about how he sees the world. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am from San Antonio.
Okay.
That's where I was born. That's where my entire siblings and all my family was born.
Mhm.
My dad is from Midland, Texas,
Okay.
halfway from Fort Worth to El Paso, so
Yep.
the middle of nowhere, an oil town.
Mm-hmm.
So like the population really fluctuates based on the price of oil,
Mm-hmm.
and so it could be booming when oil's up. Everyone's making money, heyday, and when it's not. So, and then my mom's from Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham, Alabama. Okay.
And my parents met in college, and
Okay.
my dad had a landscaping company in San Antonio for 10
Cool.
years. Anyway, so
what did growing up for you look like?
yeah, I lived in San Antonio till I was 8 or 9, and then moved to Fort Worth for a year.
Okay.
Moved to Waco a year. Moved to Uganda, East Africa for 6 years. South Africa for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then back to DFW.
I didn't know you lived in South Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was Uganda, then South Africa?
Yeah.
So where did you go to high school at?
In both Uganda and South Africa.
Okay, and was it like the public school system that you were a part of there, or was it mainly like homeschooled?
I was homeschooled for 4 years, I think. 4 or 5 years. I lose track.
Okay.
And I don't waste time trying to calculate where I was
Yeah,
and when I was.
I gotcha.
But yeah, I was homeschooled for like 4 or 5 years, and then I
Mhm.
went to international schools from 8th grade till I graduated high school.
Okay.
So that was just, they were really small. I went to one in Uganda. I went to a
Mhm.
Christian international school, and then in South Africa, I went to like a very, like almost like liberal, like just worldly, like just academic school, I guess, international school, but like they were very pro. They were just a very liberal school and very. But anyway, it was like graduating class. I had like 40 kids in my graduating class, 45 maybe.
Okay.
But there was like 30 different nations represented.
That's pretty cool.
So same in the school in Uganda.
Okay.
As well.
Was there any like Americans there?
Yeah, especially in both. And then in like South Africa, you can't be fully South African because they don't want to take away from the local schools.
Okay.
So you have to be like, you can be part South African. So your mom or your dad could be South African, but then the other parent has to be like a foreigner of some sort. So either they were like, oh, one's from Zimbabwe, one's South African, or we would have like.
So it was only people that were like international.
Yeah, they didn't want to take away from any of the like government schools or.
So
it had. So
I gotcha.
But Uganda was different. Uganda, you could be a Ugandan. You just had to have the money to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So first question: what are key points of your identity?
Definitely like, I guess like my relationship with the Lord.
Okay.
And following Jesus. I feel like has to be my number one.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm a stereotypical family guy, like a family man. I really do value family. Even when I was in college and stuff, I would take weekends and go see my grandparents and drive to Midland or drive to the middle of East Texas. And I like purposely try and make time to go spend time with my family and my siblings. And so I don't know. I find a really deep value in family, and I think in that, even like my career path and why I chose to do real estate and help people buy and sell homes, it was kind of like, what's your why? Why do you choose something? And I feel like that's in the business realm. That's something that's, you got to figure out your why to get, what's your motivation? Family was probably
faith.
Yeah.
Okay.
Family, faith. I don't know. I think those are probably my main ones.
Okay. What makes your faith so important to you?
I think when you're following Jesus, it is very clearly described about how you're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world.
Okay.
And love the people around you, and if you're following the greatest commandment, love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Those are like, that clearly describes how you're supposed to act with those.
You can probably talk a little bit closer to the mic.
I can talk a little closer.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
You can probably like that clearly describes how you're supposed to interact with the people in society and in your sphere of influence and the people around you.
Yeah.
And so with that, I think that's why it's such a key part of my identity, is that I'm trying to love my neighbor as myself. And I think like also fulfilling the Great Commission, right? Like spreading your faith and letting people experience the Lord.
What sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Why do you believe what you believe? What are the experiences that you had that caused you to be Christian or have that be such a big part of your identity?
I wouldn't say there was ever like a moment where like I had like a come to Jesus moment where I turned. I grew up in a Christian family, but I do think that throughout like just growing up, I have like more and more on different levels and different seasons of my life made my relationship with the Lord more of my own, especially when you leave the house. I think that's a big turning point. Yeah. And then you really decide when you got your own car and then you are out of the house on living off your own money. Yeah. Like, I think that's a big point when you can really choose if you go to church on Sunday or not. Yeah. And then there's another level of, okay, well, yeah, you can go to church, but then are you actually pursuing the Lord outside of a Sunday service or a Thursday or a Wednesday Bible study or whatever? So I think like just incrementally throughout my life, I've learned to grow in my faith, and I feel like I've seen, being a missionary overseas, I saw my parents living for the Lord and seeing and hearing so many stories of people being healed. And
can I ask you really specifically, have you seen somebody be healed before? And what was that experience like?
I've seen someone like basically like have a like being demon possessed, because witchcraft is a huge deal in Africa. Okay. And in some parts of Africa, I don't want to ever generalize Africa because there's so many different parts of it. Yeah. But in certain parts of Africa, witchcraft is a huge deal. And so there, like, one of our close friends was demon possessed, and we like prayed for him, and the demon left, and so that was a huge deal. I've seen broken arms healed. My mom personally saw, like, with a group of ladies, she was discipling a woman who was basically like paralyzed, like stand up and walk. So, and then I think like even past that, like why I believe what I believe, I think in the hard times of my life, even in like high school when I necessarily maybe wasn't choosing the Lord in the like deepest way, or I just was like, I know like my parents want me to do this, but I have just am not pursuing it. I'm kind of just like living my life, I guess you could say. Yeah. Just the emptiness I felt, and even in, what's ironic is in my Christian school we actually learned about like Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism, and like our teacher, she was like a Bible teacher, but she had like studied, and we learned all about like Yom Kippur and all the like the Jewish festivals, and then we learned about like Islam, and like I haven't read the Quran, but I know like a lot about the Prophet Muhammad and like what that means, and like Sharia law. And so I think like just the way that I don't know, I feel like my life, whenever I have gone through peaks and valleys, or specifically the valleys of not pursuing the Lord, and then when I come back and I start pursuing the Lord again, there's just so much more like fulfillment in life and love that I feel. And I think that the truth and the goodness that I find in my life when I am following the Lord is like a testament to why I feel like Jesus is real. And
okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I can explain that very well.
I really like the way you explain it. You mentioned something about the difference between whenever you are pursuing the Lord and whenever you weren't.
Yeah.
Has there been, can you be more specific about those experiences and when they were, like whenever you felt like you weren't following the Lord as much and what that was like compared to following the Lord?
Yeah.
And kind of like the timeline there. And mainly because I'm actually curious. I kind of want to know. Like, it's not just like, for the podcast.
You want to know my deepest, darkest secrets.
A little bit.
So in high school, sophomore year, freshman year, I can't remember which one. One of those years, I was coming off from being homeschooled, and I was really socially awkward, and I didn't have a lot of friends, and I got just running with the wrong kids and trying to impress them and just fit in. And so I wasn't partying. We were too young to party, and it's hard to kind of party in Africa, in Uganda specifically. But
wait, can I ask you a little tangent? Why is it hard to party? Because
how
dangerous it is, or
no, I think just like there's not like I don't know, like there's nowhere to go. Like where would you go to like drink? Like unless you went to someone's house, there's not really somewhere where you could like go. Like there's no parks. There's no like there's nowhere where you would just like be like, oh yeah, we're going
out
over
into
here.
The woods. No, that's not a thing.
No, you don't do that. not at night unless there's a whole bunch of guys. Like that's just not smart.
Okay, so because of like I know I sound like an American here. Is it because of lions or something, or what?
No, just like it's just like you're in a third world country.
Okay. I was
So like obviously South Africa and Uganda are very different. I lived in Cape Town, which is like a first world city in a third world country, so it's a second world country. So like Cape Town, there's like clubs and there's like DJs there, and you could go party there. And there, don't get me wrong, there were people who were partying, but it was just a lot sketchier. You understand?
So you weren't partying, but you were hanging around the wrong crowd.
I mean, dude, I was like mean to people. I remember like the year before, I had a really good friend, and then I came back that summer or that new year, and I was just like, man, I was cussing up a storm. Like I was just being a jerk. I was messing with women and just not in an honorable way. And so then like going through like I don't even know why I changed. I guess maybe because there just was no fulfillment. I don't remember, like I said, like a turning point, but I guess I just got sick and tired of just like the emptiness I felt of trying to like fit in with the crowd around me and do things that like I knew didn't have any like reward, and like I knew my parents didn't like approve of them, and I knew like the Lord didn't either. And I feel like that's something always, it's like because I grew up like believing in the Lord, like there's always that inkling in the back of my heart, like oh, I know this is wrong, but we're just gonna ignore that feeling. So but and then in college as well, freshman year of college, definitely just was, again, partying never really did it for me, but mainly just women, I guess, in college as well. Just not pursuing healthy relationships with women, not respecting them either.
Okay, that was in college. So that was a separate experience. So you kind of.
So when I moved to South Africa, I was like really close to the Lord. I was the only Christian at my school. And I was the only one who didn't party. I was the only one who I never dated, and I never dated, and so intentionally dated. But I in Uganda I did met like flirt and do some physical things with some girls, but then in South Africa I was on the straight and narrow just because I don't know, I felt like I was just close with the Lord in that season, and it was nice to, I mean, it was hard, don't get me wrong, because I was like, I was lonely. I really was, because like everyone in my school partied. There were kids bringing vodka to school, and like it was tough. It was tough because then not because I never got invited anywhere, and not because they didn't want me. I was like the best athlete at the school playing basketball and soccer, but it's just because they got tired of me saying no. So then they're not going to invite me.
Yeah.
But like if I ever wanted to come, I was welcome. But then it's like I knew I would go, and it's just what are you doing there when you're the only one sober and everyone else is getting plastered? You're just like standing around like
this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you doing there? Like, you're not having fun, and everyone else is thinking they're having fun, or they are having fun. So,
So
now you know my deepest, darkest secrets.
Deepest, darkest secrets. Okay, and whoa, it got really quiet because the music turned off.
Yeah,
just waiting for it to slowly come back again. Okay, sweet, it's there. Family. What made that such a big part of your life? Was it your parents and their value they place on family, or was it maybe big? And this is like just me reading into it. Is it maybe because like family was all that you had while you were in another country? Like that was like kind of like the thing. The only thing that was home really was family.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it stems from.
Okay.
I know my dad is like a super like hyper caring about people, and is just like a really good friend of people in general. Like he just really cares about people. So, and I think like what you said, I guess when I was overseas, I was like, they were a lot of what we had. So I think that is also like part of it. But I think like my family is very combative and like very we just butt heads all the time. And so, but I think there's some beauty in that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think partially because my dad was one of my best friends growing up. Because we were both lonely. He was lonely too, because it's just how it is, when you're in a new culture, and when people are living on $1 a day and have 2 pairs of clothes and live in huts, like there's just no way they can relate to you in any way, on any level. Like there's it's just so hard. So
I feel like it would be really hard to find like genuine friends that way too.
Well, and I mean, I can go into like specifically Uganda, like culturally, I cannot be friends with other Ugandan like kids my age when I was like 11 or 13 or 15, because they're, in a quick summary, their tribe or their family and their friends would think I'm giving them money because so many NGOs have come and they just give stuff away. They just hand out money, they hand out things, but I'm not handing out anything because I don't have much myself. And so then their family thinks that I'm giving them something. And so when I'm not, then their family's putting pressure on them. Hey, because they have a very communal culture where they're like, oh, if you're not sharing with us, then you obviously don't love us and you don't care about us. So then he's like, I have nothing to share because he's not giving me anything, but they don't believe him. So then he's either pressured to steal, or he's going to be excommunicated from his like circle.
Whoa, so that's actually that's rough.
So he's put in a no-win situation where it was like, and I tried, like we learned this the hard way because we didn't understand the culture. So people stole from me, and like when I would try and hang out with kids my age, but it's just like, they had no, like,
that's rough.
They can't turn on their own culture for me, like their own family, and so it's like that, which I understand. So but because of that, like super lonely. And I think that's part of, when you ask like what's the meaning of life at the end, which I won't answer it now, but I think that's part of my own testimony with the Lord, and also my own meaning of life comes from growing up so lonely.
So how does your identity and religion as part of your identity affect your politics?
So I think Christians, like the Bible definitely plays into effect of politics. I don't know if I was literally having a conversation actually before we met up with another guy.
Okay. And
I was talking about how someone, I don't know if it was actually you who made the point, but someone on your podcast mentioned on abortion, right? Like Christians say no abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but politically, right, Jesus gave us free will on earth, and we can choose. So why are Christians trying to impose like Christianity on people when I don't feel like it's gonna bring people to the Lord more if we force people to not have abortions.
Yeah.
And so like separating like, okay, like in like, do I believe abortion is bad? Yes. Like, but do I think politically, as far as like America and like freedom and just what it believes in that sense, I don't necessarily know if I believe that it's like the best thing for the country.
Yeah.
So I think that's a hard thing. And then my friend brought up like, okay, yeah, but then like, okay, what about like murder?
That was
and
it's a relevant question.
Yeah. And I was like, well, okay, well, duh, human rights. And then but then it's like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a scientist, but I believe at conception, when the sperm enters the egg, that is a life.
Yeah, well, you sound like a scientist.
Well, shoot,
that's what scientists believe. No, I'm just kidding.
Apparently, not all scientists, but yeah, that's what I believe. So, yeah, I don't know. I think back to the question. How does that?
So do you know where you land at on it, or are you still kind of trying to figure that out still?
I think trying to figure it out. I think I don't know. America, there's so many opportunities, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. And I mean, luckily, I've had the amazing experience. I've been to more countries than I have states, and so I've seen a lot of the world. I haven't seen much of Asia, but I've seen different parts of Africa and a lot of Europe. And there's just like nothing like America. So as for the protection of America and the freedom of ideas, I'm like, I like let abortion happen. But then like for the killing of a life and like my religious views, it's definitely like no abortion, right? And not pro-choice. So yeah, I don't know if I don't think I've finished weighing them, if that makes sense. Like right now, I'm trying to figure out which one is more costly.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess life.
Yeah, I think I follow like the friend you speak of. I want to meet this person now, but no, the friend that you speak of, I think I really view it on the same lines as like murder. You know, like okay, do we allow people to murder somebody, and then like what? Because we enforce that, and I don't think it necessarily has to be a.
So I just contradicted myself actually, because if I said it's conception of the sperm and the egg, and it's a life, and then now we're saying murder, we don't allow people to murder. I just realized I just contradicted myself.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
So I guess now that I'm contradicting myself, I will say against abortion.
It's when the first podcast I released, Leah, she's super conservative, and I'm just checking the timer. I think I forgot to start it, so I gotta make sure I start this. I'm just gonna. She actually, I was surprised she's very conservative, very well thought out, very opinionated. I really like talking to her. And one of the things she said was, after looking at all of the arguments, it's still hard for her to find where that line is on abortion. Specifically
when is life, or just whether it should be implemented,
whether it should be illegal or not. Okay, gotcha. Not whether it's a life. Like she knows where she stands on it being life. But it is a little bit more sticky than just like murder. Although I personally have a conviction that that all life, especially innocent life, is of equal value. And
now that I realize, actually, if I've thought about it a little bit more, I'm like, that was a stupid argument. So
that's all right.
I would say I would actually come to the conclusion, yes, I'm against abortion, but I think that argument can be seen to be very valid as well. And it's just personal conviction at that point.
So what
I would also say, like, going back to your first question, I would probably I would identify as conservative, not Republican. I think those maybe are a little bit different.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think like everybody, I would hope everybody can identify that in some way they see things on the opposite side that they would like to like believe in. I feel like there's just no way someone is all one side and can't like that's just impossible. Like, I feel or they're just not thinking rationally.
So other than the issue of abortion, are there other political issues, either one that you care about, or two, feel like you're more in a gray area than just like hard right on?
I'm pro-gun. Trying to think what else is there.
Well,
I think
like how just a couple of issues. Doesn't all have to be social issues, because it can be like taxes, welfare, guns, immigration, foreign policy. Like
okay, foreign policy. I think we need to mind more of our own business.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like, man, we just
not about giving away taxpayer dollars.
No, not really. I think
that money's free, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's free. I honestly like, dude, that honestly irks me so much when people are saying like, oh, the government has so much money, and yeah, it is a lot of money, but when we are just meddling in other people's affairs so often, like it annoys me. And then it's like, okay, well, then if we're talking about abortion and like the conservation of life, and then when there's tyrannical governments who are killing off so many people, but then we pick and choose.
Yeah, we do.
And so then that pisses me off even more. Like whenever I went to Rwanda and I toured where like all the genocide happened, and when I got to like as a class trip, we went down from Uganda to Rwanda, and like as a field trip, we spent multiple days in Rwanda and like went to different places, saw like literally like cases of just skulls of people who had been whacked with machetes, and like piles of clothes of just people who had just been killed, and like, but where all that was sent was the UN, and they were peacekeepers, so they didn't have guns or anything, and they were sent to like mediate, but no action was done. So it was just like where were people in that? And that was like what, 800,000 I think people, some ridiculous number of just like I don't know that exact number. That just came to my mind, so I don't. So Google it.
It's a podcast, so it's not actually factual.
Yeah.
As a note, don't ever cite up on this podcast I listen to. That's bad practice. So,
Google the number. It'll be the first thing that,
because the internet never lies.
Yeah, the internet never lies either. But so like that side of things just pisses me off. Anyway, so foreign policy, like just mind our own business. Like taxes.
Well, okay, so let me ask a little bit more.
Yeah. Which you can
relevant question. Hamas is real.
Yeah, so that's, and obviously there's so many different plays. Like, obviously the us buying oil has to come into a key factor on what we're gonna do, or like how we're supporting Israel, and like, okay, well, is Saudi gonna still sell us oil? Like that's a big question mark, you know, or like, anyway. So there's a whole lot of. Which there's never one. It's never one answer in one.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you were like, we should just stay out of it, and then that's like the end of the discussion, or
I don't know. There's even I remember when we were talking, when you were explaining to me how like, okay, this is so bad. I don't have social media. I'll confess on the podcast. I don't have social media. And what day did it happen?
It was like October 7th, I think. What happened on a Monday?
Well, I only figured it out on a Thursday. So
bro, no, it was the Saturday before that Thursday.
Okay, yeah. So dude, that's 5 days. I didn't even know what was
happening.
Dude, that's so bad.
It's shocking.
Because I don't know. I'm working. I don't I don't feel like wasting my time on social media.
Yeah, that's good advice. News. Stop listening to this podcast and go live life.
I do listen to some podcasts, but not like news podcasts. So they're not gonna, anyway, so like I listened to the conservative Gen Z podcast. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Yeah. So obviously, I think every foreign affair is its own involvement and like its own. Like you can't just say, "Oh, we're never gonna leave the country," because there's reasons you gotta leave. So
yeah.
What else? Taxes.
Like welfare.
Yeah, welfare. I mean, the one dude you interviewed who was like lived off of food stamps. I don't remember his name.
Romello.
Yeah. Like that opened my eyes like just to a lot of things, but I do think like the amount of money that like goes into like California, like my own uncle, he abused the welfare system, and so it's hard. It's a hard, there's no one solution, but like California's welfare system, and I mean, if you watch those interviews of them interviewing like homeless people, and they're like, yeah, I get a phone and I'm watching Netflix and I get money to live off of food, and it's like easy over here, it's just like ridiculous. Even like my life group went to a homeless ministry here. It's called Beautiful Feet in downtown, and they were like just enlightening us. We went out and handed out like, I don't know, little food bags with like water and socks and whatnot, and we're trying to pray for people and get them into their program where they can help them like have housing and get them get papers and try and not like get like just identification cards and whatnot, so they can try and get a job and not be homeless. But he's literally saying like no one is going hungry in DFW or in like, at least Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So like the fact that they're not going hungry, like I'm just like I don't know. It's like, and part of the people who are telling this stuff are like literally people who've gone through the system at Beautiful Feet and are now like their job is to help other people, like because it's a nonprofit or it's a church organization. So anyway, but that was like super enlightening where I didn't even know that. Like I thought people in Fort Worth were going hungry, but they're not, and so then or they're choosing to.
It's for me, it's actually scary how having a heart for the homeless. Most of the people I see that like really care to take care of the homeless
are enablers.
end up switching over time. Like the ministry itself hardens your heart because you see the way money is squandered, opportunity squandered, and people abuse so much. Like not just the system in like the money way, but like the system as in like there's sexual assault, there's like, and it's such a like there's so much predatory behavior inside of it, and where everything is trying to be abused. That's like it's like the eyes of a predator. After like I've worked a lot with not like it was like a full-time job or anything, but I've spent a lot of time in like youth ministry and even just like working at soup kitchens and that kind of thing, where it's just like you can start seeing like the look in people's eyes, like they're just like, how can I screw you over?
How can I suck you for all you're worth?
Yeah, and it just it really hardens your heart in a way that like maybe I should pray about it and move back a little bit from it, but it's just sad, It's sad that like I remember caring so much as a kid, but then seeing that and the behavior that was exhibited by everybody, it just, and they didn't want help with their situation. They didn't want to escape it. They wanted the food, and then they wanted the cash that they'd asked for, and then they'd want to go buy drugs, and then they'd also want the food again. Yeah. And they didn't want to work and whatever else.
That was shocking. They were like, yeah, don't give them money. I was like,
no, like, never give homeless people money ever.
Yeah, and they were like, yeah, you can go buy gift cards to McDonald's. You can go like, like, but they're like, never give them money. They're like, literally, they told a story like as they were prepping us on like, smart things to do when you're literally in the homeless section of Fort Worth. Is like, they were like, some person like was at Beautiful Feet and they really felt like the Lord told him to go, or he just felt really convicted. He wanted to go give this guy like a $20 bill or whatever. Gave it to him, and it was like wintertime, and he went and like bought whiskey, got plastered drunk, froze to death on the steps of Beautiful Feet that night. and they like, or he wasn't like honest us, but he was just like right there, and they found him like the next night, but they like they didn't know he was out there, and obviously anyway, just like crazy, like it was really sobering for me to like have the knowledge of like people who are trying to tackle that ministry, you know. It's like they need Jesus. They need the love of God.
Yeah. Well, although it's really difficult. Like seeing people like Romello who it helps, and I think it's a good situation for him. And also like Rochelle, she also was on
when she's in the group home too, right?
The transgender LGBTQ plus or something like that group home, which I did not know was
I didn't know that existed either.
But you learn something new every day, especially listening to people on this podcast.
Yeah, you really do. Peep last episode.
So that's welfare. What do you think about immigration?
I mean, so actually I know a guy, he's a caseworker for immigrants.
Okay.
And even if they're legally coming in, I guess they're asylum seekers specifically.
Yeah.
Which obviously there's different forms of way to get into the country, but they're asylum seekers.
Yeah.
They have to wait 2 years. Even though they came, like they're legally here and they're registered as an asylum seeker, they have to wait 2 years before they can actually get a job.
What?
Yes. And so
do we like cover them during that time or what?
No. Whoa. It's literally the most, like when he told me that, like that's his job, is like they have housing. It's a non-government funded organization where they produce housing for these people, and they have like roommates. And so he's like doing conflict negotiations between like an African and a Middle Eastern guy, and he's like they're living in this apartment together, and like he took some guy who's an asylum seeker to get his driver's license, and like so that's his job. But I was like, that is like, how are we expecting people to succeed who are hungry? Like they will do like anything. Like they wanna, they're hard work. They're more hardworking than most Americans.
Yeah,
and it's like they aren't even given the chance. So like I don't know. It's just like we're too worried about going overseas and making their lives better in their own country. Not worried about
like inviting them here.
Yeah, which I mean, I don't think we should like open border, but like the people who are,
the immigration process should be better than what it is.
Well, yeah, and like why not just focus on making like it work here, where you know the few people that we do let in, whatever number that is. I mean, I'm not in a statistician.
I've never even heard of that word.
Like a person who does statistics. Yeah, like an economist. Like those people obviously are going to run the numbers on what does it look like for jobs, and how many people can we let in, and how many jobs that like immigrants will work. You know, that a lot of Americans won't work. Yeah,
that's a big thing. Is so there's a lot of jobs that need like Americans here won't work. That it's really critical that
we need immigrants.
We need immigrants.
So it's like, you know, how are we gonna fill that, you know, that void? And there's a good amount, right? There's someone is smart enough to calculate like what that number should be, and yeah, I think like that's just, I don't know. I literally think like, how are we not letting people succeed here? And we're literally the land of opportunity.
At least in name, but also in actuality. Yeah. At least that's what I hear from the Brazilian people that I work with.
Dude, even in Europe, when everyone's like, oh, socialism sucks. That's why people in Canada come here for surgeries, because they either have to wait too long or the doctor does a crappy job. Like,
I might have mentioned like feminism or something, but
yeah,
you don't have to talk about that if you don't really. You don't strike me as a person who has like strong opinions on it.
On feminism?
Yeah,
not really. I mean, if they can do the job, pay them. Like, I literally think if you just like, if you add, corporate America is so greedy. If you are adding enough value, they don't give a rat's behind about
who you are,
who you are, what you look like. Like,
yeah,
it's just if you're that good, like success will find you.
Yeah. So be so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah, like literally that's it. And of course there sure is discrimination at some levels and whatnot, but like literally there's just so much money at stake in the world, and like there's just, if you're that good, you
don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it.
So
I would also say like I guess politically, like I'm conservative, so, but I think like as far as like the LGBTQ plus movement or whatever, I think what I really don't like about politics today is that a lot of people can't like separate like policy versus like your vote.
Okay.
And
how do you mean?
So like so many times people are like, "Oh, I can't believe you voted for Trump," and it's like XYZ of, "Oh, he's a whore, and he it's all about his character," but they never mention policy.
Yeah, like the Abraham Accords or anything like that.
Yeah, like it's like, why, like the economy was amazing, and it's like because policy, and it's like but it's like no one can look past who he was as a person, and like I hate his character. Like he's not
he's not a nice guy.
But like up until the point, I don't know Biden statistics, but like he hired more women in his offices than any other previous president, and he hired more LGBTQ.
You talking about Trump or
Trump.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So like but then they kept saying like, "Yo, he's a womanizer," and which I mean maybe he is, but like he hired a ton of women, and like he like I don't know, it's just, but like if you like just look past that and like what he did for the country, I feel like, in my personal opinion, it was really good.
Yeah,
like I really liked his policy, I really liked his negotiation. Why are we footing the bill in trade? Like that's the dumbest thing ever. Like why are we literally losing money in every trade, or just losing like the value of resources, or why can't we do anything, like why can't we export in our benefit? It's always a deficit for the US. It's like, why are we footing the bill for the rest of the world? Like just common sense like that, it's like that just pissed me off. But like I feel like even with the LGBTQ community and like Christians, which I wanted to make 2 points. One, there's a lot of Christians that do not like love the LGBTQ community, and I think it's really sad that they can't, on both sides. I feel like both sides can't separate like acceptance versus disagreement. Like I can accept you for who you are, and I can like you as a person, but I don't have to agree with your life choices. And I think it can, like, you can use that argument for, oh, I like you, Joshua, but you like McDonald's and I hate McDonald's, and I don't actually know if Joshua likes McDonald's, but that's the same principle for.
Well, would you allow somebody to become a church member or not a church member of McDonald's, or would that be like a factor of like,
which I mean, so then we get into like theology, right? And there's a whole line there, but like I think
so would you say like
you can walk into a church and say, oh, we don't, like, our belief system says like you're sinning and like this is not of God, but we can still love you for who you are, and like, or like we can still, like, you're welcome in. They should be welcome in. If they're not welcome in, that's
a problem.
That's a problem. And but like you can't, like, I don't know, like I just feel like I was a manager at Starbucks for a year, and like that is a very LGBTQ community, and I worked with several members of people who were part of that community, and like I still like we're friends with them, and like
treat them decently every day, and work with them.
We talked all the time. We had so much fun, and we were just goofing off at work. And but like, do I approve of their lifestyle? No. And but like, I feel like so many times either people are displaying it in the wrong way of how they themselves can't get past it in their own mind, or people are playing the victim in an unnecessary way where like if you can't realize that some people aren't gonna like you, like, or aren't gonna like your life, they're not gonna like you, but they're not gonna like your life choices, and people will not like you. Like, whether it's you're in the LGBTQ community or not, people do not like me as a person, and that's okay. Like, not everyone's gonna like me, but like I think just because someone doesn't agree with your life choices doesn't mean they hate you. And obviously, in some cases, people do hate you. And obviously, in some cases, people don't. And I feel like the majority of, in my experience, the majority of interactions I've had are people playing the victim from what they hear in the media that they should. When in reality, you shouldn't. Life's tough. World's tough. You're in the land of opportunity, and like people aren't always gonna like you, and that's okay. But like, you've got to decide, like, the life decisions you make, those are yours, and you've got to like live with the consequences. And it's like in those are, like, you don't have to make those decisions, you know. And so I don't know. I think, I just wish, like, politically, like, there's just so many different ways there's ways you can like separate it. So, sure. But especially policy, like. Especially policy in the presidential election too.
All right, I'm gonna do this again. All right, I think we got enough time. So, what do you think the meaning of life is?
So I think anybody can look at it in two views, or for me, I can, like my religious view. So, meaning of life is to live a life that's glorifying to God and to give God glory. And to fulfill the Great Commission, which is spreading the love of Christ, and making sure everyone has heard the good news that the Lord God Almighty, Jesus Christ, loves them for who they are and wants to invade their heart and take over their life. And he wants to give you identity in who he believes you are, not who you think you are. And and that just experience the love of Christ, right? So, like, that's what my parents did. They felt like called to go to Africa to spread the gospel and fulfill the Great Commission. And so it doesn't matter where you are. That's, if you're a Christian, that's your mission, is to fulfill the Great Commission and make sure everyone hears the good news before the Lord returns. If you're not religious, I think, as far as me, I grew up really lonely as a kid. Even in America, I was pretty lonely. And just for ironic reasons. But friendships are hard. And friendships with kids are hard.
Ironic reasons?
Just like I don't know. It was just hard to find like close friends growing up. I moved a lot, even in San Antonio. Which kind of similar to your upbringing. Like before I graduated high school, I lived in 15 different homes. And 7 cities, I think, something like that. So I think you moved more than me. So
I just all in the Midwest. So I have actually never been outside the country. So
Okay, so we're opposites.
But I've been to a lot of states.
So you beat me there. You can speak more to America. I'll speak more to Europe and Africa. Not Middle East or Asia, but so like, just I think moving makes it hard. Like like my wife, she lived in the same home since she was like 5 or something, but the same city her entire life. And so like I married stability. But beside the point, I think like we've both read the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of his like what do you call it, like
main points?
No, like exercises. There you go. One of the exercises is like to write your obituary. Like, what do you want to be known as? And I literally think the Lord put me in, like, I grew up so lonely because I wanted to, like, people need friends. People want to be like loved and want to be wanted. And I always wanted that growing up. And like I have an amazing father and an amazing mother, and like my family, but like your family, you always want, like, even outside your family, you need friends too. And so I literally think like part of my like purpose on the earth is to be a devoted friend. And that's like something I like want to, like when I die,
Yeah.
whether it's my kid or I don't know, somebody, I want them to say that Elliott was known
for being a really good friend,
as a devoted friend, and was like just a friend to everybody, but like a deep friend.
So far, I can attest to his endeavor, because I feel like he's a devoted friend.
But yeah, I feel like if we're not going for my religious meaning of life, and I think that would probably be my second tier mission, which even, I mean, it does tie into my religious side as well. But I think like that means life is just adding, like caring and loving for the people around you. I feel like, I don't know, I just know like what it's like when you don't have any friends, and there's not even opportunity. Like there was no, it wasn't like I wasn't trying to go out there and make friends, or it wasn't because I was shy, like it was literally like there was just no one there besides my family. And so I think like that's why I'm just like, even if someone who I don't like, I wouldn't like choose to hang out with all the time, like I definitely want to try and like, hey, like you can go an extra step to make sure that they feel known. And I don't know, I'm also an extroverted person and very outgoing, so it's definitely easier for me naturally, I feel like, to pursue people intentionally. So yeah, I think that's my meaning of life, is just to be a devoted friend. In my different
to stop other people from being as lonely.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know.
You don't have to.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. Josh was also a good friend. He's also very smart. You just don't know it on this podcast because he doesn't talk a lot.
I try not to.
A lot of questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe one day somebody will interview me.
Yeah. Maybe I'll interview you.
It'll be like the big reveal. Like, this is who I am and what I believe. Yeah. But I feel like
it leaks out. Yeah. It leaks out here and there.
It does. So, is there anything that you would say to other, let's say, call young people, as an encouragement or a question to ask themselves or something like that?
I mean, I think, like, especially in America, like, there's just so much opportunity. It's easy to be successful here. It's easy to stand out. And I just, like, I feel like there's just so many different avenues to find your version of happiness. And I'm not going to say like, oh, this is what happiness is, because it's different for everybody. Yeah. This is what like a satisfied life. Like if I waved a wand, so this is what I want my life to look like, you're never going to find two people with the same answer. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's like, it's out there. Like it's you can, if you just, man, it's so easy to stand out in America. Yeah. I feel like, especially now, and I feel like, sadly, I mean, I don't know, Gen Z is still young, but I feel like, at least in the millennial generation, it's still pretty easy to stand out.
Oh yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So like, with that in mind, like, I think it's yours for the taking. Yeah. And then I would also say, like, just live unselfishly. Like, whenever you're trying to worry about your problems and your feelings, and I mean, which obviously there's a right time for that, but when you're more worried about that than everything else, like than other people's, then I think you just you get caught up in your head and you live a dissatisfied life. Yeah. Like I find the greatest happiness in not being lonely when I'm trying to be a good friend for other people. Yeah. And not waiting for people to reach out to me, because most of the time they won't reach out to me. Yeah. No, there are very few people who are like as intentional with me as I am with them.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's like 95% initiation on my side.
Yeah.
In most of the relationships I have.
Sorry.
No, I didn't say who the 5% were. I have a lot of friends, so
my part of the 5%.
I don't know.
Oh man,
no. I would say Joshua is one of the initiators.
I try to actually even it out to 50-50.
Yeah. No, he is one of the initiators. We also we just have different lifestyles too, and so it's just we have our own ways of connecting.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, circling back and summarizing. I just think, man, when you live unselfishly, there's so much more life to be experienced and to live through.
Yeah.
Just because when you make it all about you, no one wants to be around that.
Yeah. No. All right. Well, is there any social media or anything like that you want to?
I don't have social media, but if you're ever looking to buy or sell or lease a home in the DFW area, you can give me a call, 469-450-3602. Yeah, I'd be happy to help anybody and everybody to buy a home.
Because he's a realtor.
Because I'm a realtor.
That's why.
And that's what I do for a living.
Okay, cool. Well, it's been great spending time with you, as always. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll go ahead and close shop. But, man, see you later. Bye. Here we are at the end of the video. Since you're here, you might as well consider liking and subscribing. Always remember to keep on seeking to understand and love the people around you. I'll see you next Saturday, guys. Bye.